Hello, and welcome to my first video. This is a brand new channel, and the channel name, of course, is Explaining Society. And on this channel, I'm going to go in depth and explain a lot of society's key issues at the current point in time. The subject of this video, as you probably already saw from, of course, the clickbait title and thumbnail, I'm going to be talking about the housing crisis. We're going to go over what has caused it and what we can do to fix it. If this kind of content is enjoyable, consider liking and subscribing. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. So I saw a video today that was going over how we could solve the housing crisis. And essentially the point that they were making was that there just weren't enough houses to go around. Now, while that is true in certain areas of the United States, the bigger issue is the fact that big businesses and corporations are able to buy real estate. And that's where the main issue really comes from. Because it used to be that you would have a landlord, and that landlord would be a person. Now, with big businesses and corporations buying up residential real estate, the main problem becomes that those businesses can then charge whatever they want. And this is a problem because they can afford to sit on a house and just leave it empty for 2-3 years until somebody essentially has to go and pay that high rent. It's unreasonable, but because they're multi-billion-dollar conglomerates, they can afford to lose money on things like this. And what it really boils down to is they're playing the long game. They can afford to take short-term losses because in the long term, people are going to be forced into a situation where they either pay the insane rental prices or they go homeless. And for most people, being homeless simply isn't an option. Take myself, for example. I am a man with 2 children. I have a girlfriend. We are currently living out of her grandmother's house because we simply cannot afford to live anywhere else. It's just simply not economically viable. And I know for a fact that that is a prevailing issue for a lot of people. So the core effect of big businesses being allowed to buy up residential real estate is, of course, the housing crisis, obviously. But it's a much deeper issue because not only are they buying up houses, but they're also abusing the legal system to acquire properties that people aren't willing to sell. And this has been going on for years. This is a very big problem that has been happening for a very long time. The only real way to actually combat this and solve the housing crisis is to introduce federal legislation that essentially disallows any big business or big corporation from actually purchasing residential property. Because if they can't purchase residential property, obviously they won't. Now, obviously this is a much bigger issue than I've summarized it here. You see, the real problem here is, again, that corporations are allowed to buy residential real estate. Now, take McDonald's, for example. Most people would think that McDonald's makes their money off of, food. I mean, they're a fast food company, right? If you think that, you would be sorely mistaken. McDonald's makes far more every year on real estate than they do in food. And that's saying something. I mean, McDonald's makes a lot of money on food, but they make more on real estate. And McDonald's is not an outlier in this situation. McDonald's is just one small part of the massive issue that is facing our nation. And another part of that issue is the fact that these companies can take these losses for so long. Like they have the ability to buy out entire apartment buildings and charge, $1,600 a month for each apartment. And generally speaking, about half of those units are not don't have people living in them. And rightfully so. I mean, who the hell can afford $1,600 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment? It's absolutely ridiculous. And the problem is that these corporations will go and they will put money in the pockets of the politicians and the judges and the legislators and all of the people in the lawmaking processes. They will buy them off with either money or donations or various material items that are worth money, things like that. And it's called a gift. And these are on paper, like these are written off on these companies' tax documents. So they're bribing the officials to get these backwards laws passed that allow them to abuse the system. And also at the exact same time, they're using these things as tax write-offs. So they are basically, this is a little bit of a leap in logic here, but if you stay with me, it'll make sense. Essentially, our voting power does not matter. Almost at all. The corporations are so far in control of this situation and this housing crisis that there's nothing we can do outside of putting actual real people into those positions of lawmaking that we can trust to not be bought and paid for. And I know that this is probably going to be very disagreeable with a lot of people, but from what I can research and from what I can understand through my research, it is genuinely the truth. This is exactly what is going on. And it hurts me to see so much misinformation on this topic. It's bad for the people, it's bad for the society, and it's bad for the economy. Now, the problem, again, is far deeper than just the corporations. There are more issues to this. There are far more nuances that I haven't covered yet. And I will most likely end up making another video on this topic at a later date when I can research even further and provide more evidence for my claims. Now, the thing is, people have made attempts to combat this for decades now. And unfortunately, there's just not enough people high up in the lawmaking process that we can trust to actually implement laws that are fair to the average person. And it's a very unfortunate thing that that's the case, but I believe anybody that has a brain and eyes and can use them both in conjunction with each other can see that this is the issue. You can see that I am telling the truth here. And again, if you think that I'm lying or if you think that I'm wrong, please comment below in the comment section and let me know. I don't want to spread misinformation. Again, this is simply what I have been able to find through my own research on the topic. But that being said, nobody is perfect. And I want to make that very abundantly clear that I am not an economist. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not, I don't have a business degree. I haven't ever been in realty. So I don't have experience in these fields. But you don't need experience in these fields to have common sense enough to look at documents and public records. A lot of these purchases are public record. You can track down the fact that McDonald's makes more in real estate and owns more real estate than most companies. In fact, MatPat from Game Theory had covered this topic one time, I believe on his Food Theory channel. So the real core of the issue, of course, again, as I'm reiterating, is deeper than what I'm presenting in this video. But I just wanted to make this video to help people to understand a little bit more what the true cause of this housing crisis is, because it certainly isn't the fact that we just don't have enough homes. That's just simply not true. And of course, again, in some areas throughout the US, I'm sure that is actually the case. But the majority of places that are large-scale population, think San Francisco, New York, LA, Dallas, Texas, any place, any city that has a large population, this is generally the case. And by making a lot of these places single-family homes, they are removing the ability for people to rent in tandem with each other, if that makes sense. I know I have very weird ways of putting things and talking, but I'll get better as I make more videos, of course. But again, the issue I'm trying to point out now is, of course, the whole single-family household thing. Because, for example, me and my cousin are talking daily about potentially getting our own land together. Because as far as it goes, I've done a lot of research into it, and it will genuinely be cheaper in the long run to just buy a plot of land and purchase a trailer, even just like a travel trailer or something, and just live in that. And it's sad that that's something that we have to do in this economy, but it's genuinely the truth. And again, that's all prefaced on having good credit and credit history and job history, payment history. You have to be well established to be able to get a loan to buy land. So there's so many different factors that go into the inability to actually find a reasonable place to rent. It's actually insane these days. And of course, I'm sure I'm going to get some troll comments saying, oh, well, you're just not working the right job or blah, blah, blah. Oh, well, trolls will be trolls. But for the real people watching this video and wanting to genuinely learn more about this topic, the final thing I'm going to leave you off with is do your own research. Do not trust what I'm saying. Take everything I say on this channel with a grain of salt. Again, I am not a lawyer. I'm not an economist. I don't have a business degree. I don't have any of those qualifications. I'm just a random dude sitting in a basement talking to a camera. But that doesn't mean I can't do my own research, and it certainly doesn't mean you can't do yours. So to finish off this video, I want to heavily encourage anybody seeing this to do your own research on every topic. Absorb as much information as you can and come to your own conclusions based on that information. That, in my opinion, is the best way to truly learn about something. Because in any topic, you will have a lot of bias. Now, the way you get around bias is by absorbing information from all sides and coming to your own conclusions. But this video is starting to drag on, and I think I've said my piece on this topic for now. Anybody watching, have a wonderful night. Thank you.